The Galactic Council's chamber floated above the purple-white clouds of Sirel Prime, a fortress of glass and steel that shimmered like a sanctified cathedral. Inside, hundreds of alien delegates fidgeted on their organic thrones, their voices rising in a chorus of pride, arrogance, and self-satisfaction. At the center, displayed in brilliant holography, were 70 frightened human children, their small figures seated in orderly rows within a containment dome. Some clutched threadbare teddy bears, others whispered to each other in trembling English, but all bore the same look, fear wrapped in confusion. The High Speaker of the Zorithian Empire adjusted his segmented mandibles and let his voice echo across the chamber. Behold, the spawn of Earth, 70 in number. They are leverage, living proof that humanity is but an infant race, incapable of protecting its own brood. Let all worlds take note. Resistance is futile, and defiance against the Empire carries the heaviest cost. Applause followed from half the chamber, a susurrus of claws, wings, and mechanical appendages clicking in smug unison. A few aliens raised doubts, quiet, almost apologetic, but they were drowned beneath the tide of self-congratulation. It was spectacle, humiliation weaponized. The Empire wanted Earth to flinch, to howl, to crawl. But when the human representative finally stepped forward, he did none of those things. Colonel Marcus Kane walked with an easy gait, his polished black boots clicking against the crystalline floor as though he had all the time in the galaxy. His uniform was neat but understated, dark blue fabric with faint silver trim, Earth's crest embroidered over his heart. In his hand he carried a simple ceramic cup of steaming tea, the kind you could buy in any small-town diner back home. He nodded politely to the council, then glanced at the holographic children, his steel-gray eyes softening. "My apologies for being late," he said, his voice smooth and calm, carrying a faint rasp like gravel under velvet. "There was traffic. You wouldn't believe how congested slip space lanes can get when a fellow's trying to grab breakfast." He took a slow sip from his cup. "Delightful blend, by the way. Chamomile. Calms the nerves." The chamber went still. A lumbering Vorkand general with armored scales broke the silence. "Human, do you not understand? Your spawn are captured. Your species is broken. Your fate lies in our hands." Kane tilted his head as if considering the words carefully, then gave a polite smile. "With respect, General, my fate lies in whether this tea runs out. As for the kids, thank you for babysitting. But you'll forgive me if I suggest you return them quickly. Humans get inventive when our little ones can't sleep at home." The line drew laughter from a few corners, but it was nervous laughter, the kind that masks unease. Other delegates exchanged glances. It wasn't the reaction they expected. The Zorithian High Speaker's mandibles clattered in disdain. "You come here to jest while your children weep? This confirms our assessment. You are a juvenile race, barely fit to stand among the stars." Kane lowered his cup and met the alien's gaze without blinking. "We do have a reputation for humor. Helps us through wars, famines, plagues, asteroids. We like to laugh before things get messy. You see, we've got this strange little tradition. When someone threatens our children, we smile first. Then we stop smiling." For the first time, a ripple of discomfort stirred the chamber. A thin, elder alien, skin translucent, eyes clouded with age, spoke from the shadows. "I warned you. I warned this council. The humans are not as they appear. They carry war in their marrow. They wear masks of civility until provoked, and then," his voice trembled, "then they devour entire worlds." The High Speaker dismissed him with a sharp wave of his claw. "Old paranoia. These apes are bound by fear. We will break them as we broke countless others." Kane chuckled softly and adjusted the sleeve of his uniform. "Well, history is a funny thing. Some species conquer, some get conquered, and some just refuse to stay down. Humanity's stubborn like that. We're the cockroach under the boot. The joke you thought wasn't funny until it kills you in your sleep." He paused, his tone light, almost conversational. "You'll give those kids back, or you'll learn why every playground bully in human history eventually got his teeth knocked out." Murmurs filled the chamber. The Vorkan general's frills stiffened in anger. Are you issuing a threat? Kane gave a half-shrug. Threat? Heavens, no. I'm offering advice. Free of charge. My threats tend to be more actionable. The aliens hissed, chattered, buzzed. But beneath their noise ran a vein of uncertainty. He wasn't sweating, wasn't begging, wasn't bargaining. He was sipping tea, as though discussing the weather. Meanwhile, far from the council's chamber, something invisible was already stirring. On Earth, deep below Colorado granite, Operation Silent Cradle had been activated. Fleets that had never been acknowledged in public record detached from orbital drydocks, cloaked in electromagnetic silence. Code swept across interstellar relays, disguised as innocuous data packets, songs, cartoons, late-night comedy reruns. A children's lullaby laced with quantum payload burrowed into alien networks like a tick. Civilian chatter carried hidden battle maps, unfolding across the galaxy in real time. The Council didn't know. They couldn't know. Kane knew. That was why he was calm. He set down his cup on the pedestal before him. Look, he said, voice dropping to something quieter, more intimate, as though addressing a group of unruly neighbors rather than galactic overlords. We're not monsters. We like peace. We like barbecues and baseball games and fireworks on summer nights. We like our kids playing in yards with sprinklers and popsicles dripping down their hands. But you've taken that from 70 families. And when humans lose that, we lose patience. The elder alien closed his eyes, whispering words no one else wanted to hear. They will not stop. Not until blood answers blood. But the council still laughed. They leaned on arrogance the way a drunk leans on a wall. The high speaker rose high, mandibles flaring. Colonel Kane, Earth will kneel. If you resist, your children will. He never finished the sentence. Every holoscreen in the chamber flickered, then turned black. Surveillance feeds from Earth, once streaming in steady rhythm, collapsed into static. Satellites, monitoring Terran activity, vanished from the grid. Entire sectors of Council intelligence went blind in a heartbeat. Delegates hissed in alarm. What happened? Sabotage. Impossible. Our systems are secure. Kane retrieved his tea and gave a small, almost sheepish grin. Funny thing about security systems. They never expect the enemy to use bedtime stories as a Trojan horse. Something about the innocence of it disarms suspicion. Until it doesn't. The high speaker slammed his clawed fist into the pedestal. Explain yourself. Kane's eyes gleamed, the first spark of steel flashing behind his calm exterior. He lifted his cup in a mock toast. Gentlemen, ladies, assorted tentacles, you wanted humanity's attention. Congratulations. You have it. The chamber erupted into chaos, shouts, accusations, frantic calls to distant fleets. Yet in the middle of the storm stood one man, calm as stone, sipping his chamomile. And somewhere in a quiet corner of the galaxy, a fleet of human warships slipped silently into the void, their engines humming with restrained fury. The last word spoken before the chamber drowned in alarm came from Colonel Kane, soft enough that only those near him could hear. You took 70 of our children, he murmured. Now you'll learn what 70 means to us. The chamber's alarms still howled when Colonel Marcus Kane departed, his boots echoing on the crystalline causeway like the steady beat of a war drum. He didn't look back at the council. Their panic was already a victory. He had walked in as a representative and walked out as something else entirely, the quiet herald of reckoning. Outside, the Sorel skies boiled with the light of ships maneuvering, alien fleets scrambling to confirm whether their surveillance blackout was a technical glitch or something more sinister. It was neither. It was the opening of a trap. Far across the black, in the hidden arteries of Earth's defense network, Operation Silent Cradle uncoiled like a patient serpent. Data beams disguised as cartoons bounced across the stars. A slapstick skit of an animated duck slipping on banana peels carried a payload that devoured entire encryption keys. On the homeworld of the Ktharn Dominion, a children's jingle about brushing teeth ran on repeat across government servers, each cheerful rhyme quietly replacing system root access with human override. Galactic admirals tried to swat the nonsense away, only to find their fleets paralyzed by what analysts called narrative viruses. To the humans running them, they were bedtime stories with bite. Kane stood in the quiet of his shuttle, staring at the swirling expanse outside. His aide, Lieutenant Janelle Brooks, young and sharp-eyed, hovered beside him. "Sir, early reports confirm it's working. Council intel grids are going dark across 4 sectors. Half of them don't even realize we've hit them yet. They think their satellites are drunk." Kane sipped tea from a travel flask, unfazed. "Good. Let them laugh at the joke before they realize it's on them." Brooks hesitated, her voice low. "Sir, the children. They're the core," Kane said softly. "We'll get them. But the Empire has to believe we're coming only for them, not what follows. The trap works best when the prey thinks they've already baited us." He didn't need to elaborate. Humanity's true target was larger than 70 stolen lives. The children were sacred, yes, but they were also a lever, one the Empire had handed Kane with its own arrogance. Out among the stars, human fleets moved. They weren't majestic armadas like the Council's glittering ships. They were blunt-nosed carriers, gray destroyers, and cruisers patched together with Earth's industrial grit. Their hulls bore painted slogans: "No child left behind," "Playtime's over," "Babysitter's Club." Marines aboard laughed as they checked weapons, chewing gum and telling jokes. Some played poker while awaiting deployment. Others recorded videos promising their mothers they'd be home for Sunday dinner. There was no air of desperation, no grim silence. Instead, there was something more unnerving to their enemies, a casual confidence, the easy banter of predators stretching before the hunt. On the Council's throne world, generals convened in frenzy. One, a glistening Arisian commander with obsidian carapace, slammed his claws onto the table. "Their networks are childish nonsense, ducks, songs, infant chatter. Yet it unravels us. How can apes who cook meat over fire unspool empires with cartoons?" Another, scales flashing red with frustration, hissed back, "Because we underestimated them. They laugh at war. They make games of slaughter. Do you not remember their histories? These creatures annihilated each other for centuries and called it sport. Yet still the High Speaker barked defiance. Bluster. They are noise and nuisance. Deploy the fleet to Sector Rao. Crush them before they advance." But when the fleet arrived, they found the sector empty. Only derelict cargo vessels drifting silently. The alien flagship moved to inspect, its sensors dismissing the rusted hulks. Then the first ship exploded, not from weapon fire, but from within, tearing open as Marines swarmed out in zero-G like hornets from a ruptured nest. They had been waiting, hidden inside the carcasses of freighters. They moved with magnetic boots, rifles gleaming, voices calm over comms as though chatting in a diner booth. One Marine clipped onto an enemy cruiser's hull and cheerfully said, "Evening, folks. Thought you could use some company." He planted a charge and drifted away, humming a lullaby. The blast ripped the cruiser open like a tin can. In less than an hour, the Empire's fleet was shredded. Survivors limped back, whispering of humans who grinned in the void while dismantling warships piece by piece. Back aboard his command carrier, Kane studied the reports. Brooks approached, eyes wide. "Sir, we've captured 30 prisoners. They're terrified. One kept repeating that we smiled while killing his crew. He said it was worse than silence." Kane's lips tightened, but not with regret. Fear is a language. Sometimes you don't speak it, you let it speak for you. Meanwhile, across neutral space, rumors spread. Traders whispered that humans used laughter as a weapon, that their battle networks played nursery rhymes while fleets burned. In cantinas, alien smugglers swore they saw humans offering water to surrendering enemies before confiscating their weapons with a polite, "Thank you kindly." Terror spread faster than ships could fly. But Kane knew it wasn't enough. The Empire still believed it could contain humanity, that these attacks were desperate lashes of a wounded beast. They had not yet understood the scale of the trap. On the prison world of Exorval, where the 70 children were kept, the guards grew restless. They had seen the council feed stutter, heard whispers of human fleets. A young guard, all armored plates and uncertain eyes, muttered to his commander, "What do they come here?" The commander laughed. Apes cannot breach Exorval. It is fortified beyond measure. He didn't notice the faint static fuzz creeping into the base's communications, the children's containment dome flickering for a heartbeat with the faint melody of a lullaby. One of the children, a boy no older than 10, looked up and whispered to his neighbor, "That's my mom's song." Miles above, hidden behind the moon's shadow, a human stealth ship waited, its crew silent, but for the click of cards being shuffled. The Marines inside joked quietly, one remarking, "Feels like Christmas Eve." Another grinned. "Yeah, except Santa brought C for instead of toys." Back at Surrel Prime, Kane returned to the council chamber. The High Speaker's mandibles rattled with rage. "Your people attack our fleets. You are but insects gnawing at steel. Do you think this will end well for you?" Kane bowed slightly, hands folded behind his back. "I think it'll end. Whether well or not depends on your definition. For us, ending with our children safe is well enough." The Vorkend general leaned forward, teeth bared. "And if we refuse?" Kane's smile was thin. "Then you'll find out what 70 orphans can inspire. Humanity builds monuments to grief. And when grief hardens, it builds guillotines." The words sank like stones in water. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others hissed in anger. The elder alien who had spoken before raised his trembling voice again. "Fools! Can you not see? This is not retaliation, it is orchestration. They wanted you to take the children. They wanted you to provoke them. You are already in their jaws." His warning drew jeers, but beneath the noise was fear. Reports streamed in, fleets disabled, colonies blacked out, trade disrupted by humans who struck with precision and vanished like smoke. Each blow was not random chaos, but part of a pattern, a tightening noose. Kane picked up his tea flask again, his reflection caught in its dark surface. He sipped slowly, letting the silence grow. Then he said almost kindly, "You should start asking yourselves not how to stop us, but why we're letting you live this long." The chamber froze. For a moment, no one spoke. Then chaos erupted again. But the words had lodged deep, twisting in alien minds like barbed hooks. On Exorval, the guards gathered nervously as static filled their comms, the lullaby growing louder. One shouted, "What is this noise?" But the children sat straighter, some even smiling. The boy whispered, "They're coming." And above the prison world, hidden in the dark, human ships stirred, patient, quiet, ready to strike. The first strike fell not like a hammer, but like a whisper. In the shadow of Exorval's moon, human ships glided free of their concealment, their engines burning with muffled fury. They were not vast or majestic like the Empire's fleets. They were lean, gray, scarred with patches, and painted with names that made no sense to alien eyes. Mom Spaghetti, Liberty's Ashtray, Big Bertha's second husband. The crews manning them wore grins sharper than their blades, humming as though about to crash a neighbor's barbecue. Colonel Marcus Kane stood at the center of his command carrier, the dim lights casting his features in steel and shadow. Around him, screens flickered with live feeds of enemy movements. He studied them not with the frenzy of desperation, but with the calm of a chess player about to close a match 3 moves early. His aide, Lieutenant Brooks, leaned close, her voice tight. "Sir, all units are in position. Stealth teams are waiting on your word to breach the prison dome. Fleet wants to know if we move now." Kane didn't answer immediately. He stirred his tea, the spoon clinking gently. "Always let them think they have one last card. When they play it, the hand is ours." He set the cup aside. "Signal the fleets. Phase 1 is over. Phase 2 begins." In orbit, the stars came alive. Human warships spat fire across the void, beams lancing through the black with merciless precision. Alien defenses rose in panic, shields flaring, cannons firing in rush barges. But human attacks were not brute force. They were scalpel cuts. Each shot hit comm relays, sensor towers, supply lines. Empire fleets suddenly found themselves blind, deaf, and thirsty, their weapons burning out with no guidance, their ships stranded in the dark like fish gasping on land. On the prison world below, alarm screamed. Guards scrambled, barking in alien tongues, rushing toward the children's dome. The little ones clutched one another, eyes wide, hearts thundering. Then came the sound, the lullaby, humming through every wall, every light fixture, every comm unit. One of the smallest children, a girl no older than 6, smiled through tears. "That's my daddy's song." And then the wall exploded inward. Marines stormed through in a wave of smoke and thunder, their rifles flashing, their boots slamming the floor with synchronized rhythm. They moved like phantoms, shouting to the children with voices calm and steady. "United States Marine Corps, kids. We've got you. Stay low, keep close." Alien guards fired wildly, but each shot met an answer. Marines laughed as they fought, some calling out jokes to each other even as they tore through armored opposition. "Hey Simmons, bet you $5 I tag more than you." Another chuckled back, "Double or nothing if I can do it blindfolded." The children huddled as Marines threw up shields around them, pushing forward with relentless pace. One soldier knelt to pick up a crying boy, tucking him under an armored arm. "No tears, champ. Mom's waiting at home. We'll get you there." Overhead, Kane's fleet fought like wolves circling panic prey. Alien commanders screamed in disbelief, as humans used tactics no simulation had ever considered. Civilian mining rigs retrofitted into warships slammed into destroyers, venting plasma into hulls, while blaring country music over open channels. Small corvettes darted between cruisers, firing in synchronized bursts, while Marines broadcasted jokes about barbecue sauce and family picnics. It wasn't just war. It was theater, and every alien watching felt they had wandered onto a stage where humans were playwright, actor, and executioner. On the council throne world, feeds poured in. Delegates screamed at each other, confusion turning to panic. One pointed at the screen. They laugh while slaughtering. They hum children's songs as fleets burn. Another collapsed into their seat, whispering, "It's worse than war. It's ritual." The high speaker clung to arrogance like a drowning man clings to driftwood. "They cannot sustain this. Humanity is small, primitive. Crush them." But the elder alien spoke again, voice hoarse. "You fools. Do you not see? This is not improvisation. It is orchestration. Every strike, every word, every smile, it is planned. They drew us here. They wanted us to take the children. They wanted to unleash this war." No one listened. Back on Exorval, the battle reached its crescendo. Marines secured the dome, gathering the 70 children into groups, handing them blankets, water, chocolate bars. The kids' faces lit up at the candy, fear momentarily forgotten. One whispered, "They really came." Lieutenant Brooks' voice crackled through Kane's comm, "Sir, children are secured. Casualties, minimal. We're ready for extraction." Kane's eyes narrowed. "Good. Phase 3. The Empire thought the humans would retreat once the children were safe. That was their fatal mistake. Instead, human fleets expanded outward, hitting orbital shipyards, cutting supply chains, sabotaging refineries. They didn't stop. They pressed harder, faster, with terrifying coordination. Every system humans touched collapsed within hours. Their laughter never ceased. An alien commander, watching his fleet disintegrate, broadcast a desperate plea across the stars. "They smile while they kill us. They thank us as they break our ships. Who are these creatures?" The answer came from Kane himself, transmitted across enemy frequencies in a voice calm and unyielding. "We're parents. You stole our children. You don't come back from that." Across the galaxy, worlds trembled. Rumors grew. Humans were not fighting for victory. They were fighting for extinction. Every action confirmed it. Surgical strikes that left no infrastructure, no survivors, only ruins and silence. Yet amidst the fury, Kane remained composed. In his quarters, he sat with his tea, letting the steam curl against his face. Brooks entered, her uniform scuffed from the field, eyes burning. "Sir, the council must know by now. They'll offer terms soon." Kane stirred his cup slowly. "Then we've won half the war. The other half is making sure they understand why surrender is their only choice." Brooks hesitated. "And if they don't surrender?" Kane's smile was faint, cold. "Then history will write a new chapter, and their species won't be in it." On alien worlds, fear became legend. Civilians whispered of human ghosts, soldiers who laughed in battle, fleets that vanished into shadows only to strike harder elsewhere. Entire garrisons deserted, terrified of fighting predators who seemed to enjoy the hunt. But not all aliens mocked or feared. Some, watching from the sidelines, began to see opportunity. Former slave races, long crushed under the Empire's heel, listened to human broadcasts and heard something familiar. Not just fury, but a promise. Humanity wasn't just fighting for its own children. Humanity was fighting to topple an empire. In the council chamber, chaos reached fever pitch. Delegates screamed at each other, demanding action, begging for retreat. The High Speaker shouted them down, insisting humanity was bluffing, their strength temporary. Then the feeds went dark again. A single transmission replaced them. Kane appeared, sitting at a metal table with his tea, as calm as if he were hosting a dinner guest. He leaned forward, his steel-gray eyes locking onto every delegate watching. You think we're improvising. You think we're lashing out. But the truth is simpler. You played the part we wrote for you. You stole our children. And now you've triggered the trap we set long before this war began. Operation Alien Extinction isn't a reaction. It's a plan we've been waiting years to execute. And you handed us the perfect excuse. Silence smothered the chamber. Kane took a sip, set the cup down, and smiled faintly. We've got our children back. That part's done. But this isn't about 70 lives anymore. This is about every child who will ever live. You can call it vengeance. We call insurance. The delegates erupted, but no one doubted his words. For the first time, the council felt what humans had intended all along. Not retaliation, but inevitability. On Ex-Orval, Marines herded the last of the children onto transports. The little girl who had smiled at the lullaby tugged at a soldier's sleeve. Are we going home? The Marine crouched, voice gentle. Yes, sweetheart. But home's going to be a lot bigger when we're done. As the transports lifted, fire rained down on the prison world, burning away every trace of its existence. The children never looked back. In the silence of space, fleets repositioned. Marines sharpened blades. Kane set down his empty cup, his eyes cold as stone. The war wasn't ending. It was only beginning. And in the last transmission of the day, broadcast across the stars, a single phrase repeated in every alien language. You took 70 of ours. Now we'll take everything of yours. The galaxy held its breath. Smoke and wreckage floated across sectors once untouchable. The Empire's banners torn down in a cascade of fire and silence. What had begun with 70 stolen children had ignited a storm that now spread like wildfire through the stars. Yet the Council still clung to the belief that humanity would stop, that their fury would ebb once their young were safe. They did not understand. They had mistaken the rescue for the end when it was merely the prologue. Colonel Marcus Kane sat in the command chamber of the Resolute Dawn, the largest of Earth's hidden carriers, its gray hull patched with old scars and fresh burns. Before him stretched a constellation of battle maps, sectors shaded red, fleets in retreat, supply chains shattered. He sipped tea as though surveying a garden rather than a war. Around him, aides scrambled, voices low and urgent, but Kane remained steady, eyes sharp and calm. His aide, Lieutenant Brooks, approached with a datapad clutched tight. Sir, the children are en route to Earth. All accounted for. Not a single one lost. Relief trembled in her voice. Kane nodded once, the faintest softness touching his features. Good. Their parents deserve that news. Let them breathe for a night before the real work begins. Brooks frowned. Sir, isn't the work already done? We saved them. We've crippled 3 fleets. The Empire's collapsing faster than any analyst thought possible. Kane's eyes returned to the maps, his voice quiet but weighted. We didn't come here just to save 70. We came here to make sure it never happens again. He leaned back, folding his hands. Extinction isn't rhetoric, Lieutenant. It's policy. Beyond the carrier's viewports, human fleets shifted into new formations, silent as wolves. Refugees whispered of them as shadows that smiled before striking, predators with politeness sharpened into blades. The council debated in panic, voices cracking under the weight of realization. A delegate from the Frin collective shouted, "Return their children. Beg for peace." Another hissed back, "They already have them. And yet they keep burning." The elder alien who had spoken warnings before sat hunched, eyes clouded, but burning with grim certainty. "You still do not see. They lured you. They left the door ajar and you walked through. Now you are prey in their cage. They wanted a cause. You gave them one." His words were drowned in chaos, but truth seeped through nonetheless. Reports arrived every hour. Colonies gone dark, fuel depots sabotaged, outposts turned into human staging grounds. Not random, never random. Each strike connected like lines on a chessboard. Humanity wasn't flailing in vengeance. They were closing a trap meticulously designed long before the Council ever dreamed of seizing human children. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Kane opened a channel to the Council, his face filling their fractured screens. He was seated, as always, a cup beside him, posture relaxed. But his eyes carried the cold certainty of a predator who had no intention of missing his kill. "You believe war is a storm that comes and goes. For us, it is a climate we've lived in since fire met stone. You thought taking 70 would break us. Instead, you handed us 70 reasons to erase you." He paused, letting silence weigh heavy. "You should understand. Humanity doesn't fight wars. Humanity ends them." Council members erupted, demanding negotiations, threatening retaliation, but their words rang hollow against the backdrop of collapsing fleets. Kane's smile was faint, almost courteous. "You misunderstand me. This isn't about bargaining anymore. This is about accountability, and we've already calculated the price." As his words spread across the galaxy, human fleets launched coordinated offensives. On the mining world of Zerka, Marines descended under cover of simulated storms, tearing apart refineries that powered entire sectors. On the fortress moon of Velran, sabotage charges detonated deep within the crust, ripping defense grids from their roots. Each strike was executed with chilling precision and followed by broadcasts not of triumph, but of quiet promises. "This is what happens when you touch our children." Alien civilians began to flee worlds the Empire swore were secure. In cantinas, whispers spread. The humans weren't fighting for territory or resources or pride. They were fighting for the future of their young, and nothing could stop them. Some species began sending envoys to Kane in secret, offering support, eager to join the predators rather than stand against them. The oppressed smelled freedom on human breath, and they were willing to gamble their survival on the sharpness of Earth's teeth. Inside the council chamber, the High Speaker finally broke. His mandibles clattered as he shouted, "We must surrender. Call them off before there is nothing left." But the elder alien only shook his head, a bitter smile on his lips. "It is already too late. They never planned to call this off." Kane proved him right. In a broadcast that reached every Empire world, he revealed the truth humanity had hidden until now. Seated with his cup of tea, his voice carried the cadence of a man delivering not a threat, but a history lesson. "You think we stumbled into this war, that we lashed out like animals. No, we engineered it. We let you see cracks where none existed. We dangled bait, and you seized it. You believed you were clever when you took our children. But every move you made was predicted, prepared for, accounted in the margins of a plan we've nurtured for decades. You didn't start this war. You walked into it. And now we're closing the door." The revelation struck like lightning. Council members stared in horror as realization sank in. The kidnapping of 70 children, the humiliation of Earth, the trigger for war. It had all been anticipated. Humanity had been waiting for a spark. The Empire had lit the fuse themselves. On the Resolute Dawn, Lieutenant Brooks whispered, almost afraid of her own words, "Sir, if this was always the plan, then what happens next?" Kane's eyes lingered on the star map, fleets spreading like wildfire across once untouchable territories. "What happens next," he said, voice steady, "is liberation. And judgment. We'll tear down every chain, burn every throne, until no child, human or alien, ever fears being taken again. The final phase began. Human fleets didn't just destroy, they recruited. Alien slaves, prisoners, conscripts, all armed and freed, unleashed beside their liberators. Species that had cowered under the Empire's heel for centuries now surged with newfound fury, wielding weapons stamped with human hands. Together they became an avalanche, crashing against the brittle bones of an empire that had thought itself eternal. On one battlefield, Kane's forces fought beside insectoid rebels, the humans cracking jokes as they covered their allies' advance. "Don't worry, fellas. We've got exterminator experience." Laughter mingled with gunfire, the strange harmony of humor and death. And through it all, Kane remained composed, sipping tea, issuing orders with precision that turned chaos into symphony. Every strike, every joke, every broadcast was calculated to carve terror into the hearts of those who still resisted. At last, the Council received a final transmission. Kane appeared once more, face illuminated by the glow of war beyond his viewport. His tone was not loud, not triumphant, but calm, polite, resolute. You mistook kindness for weakness. You mistook laughter for peace. You mistook 70 children for pawns. Now you will understand what predators look like when they protect their young. Behind him, fleets fired in perfect unison, a galaxy's worth of thunder answering his words. Planets that had stood for millennia trembled as empires fell, their banners burning in the cold void. The elder alien, watching the feeds collapse, whispered his final truth. The universe has awakened a species that smiles at the edge of the abyss. And we are all witnesses. Kane set down his cup, the faintest trace of steam curling upward. His eyes held no triumph, only certainty. "The war is over," he said softly. "Now comes extinction.